I thought I'd start out because, as you know, we've had some coaching changes, and with Dane going to Indiana, and actually David Thomas going into the business world, and we've replaced our Drew Donesco, got a job at Eastern Michigan with Stan Heath. So we've had a chance to hire 3 new people, and so talking to some of my former guys, one of the things that we decided was to try to get a little younger. I think Draymond brought that to my attention, and so we've hired Matt McQuaid back from our team, and kind of as the director of basketball ops, learning the position as we go. Austin Thornton has been a great addition. He's doing the video, but he's been absolutely phenomenal because he was here as a GA, knew it, worked under Drew a little bit, and the job he's done as we've kind of gone a little bit more, not analytically, but we've grown in that area a little bit. Austin has been just done a phenomenal job. And then I brought back Mark Montgomery. Monty was with me. I recruited Monty. It was kind of funny because our football guys, talking to them, I remember when I recruited some guys from downriver, and our strength coach was one of them who played here in football and basketball, Lorenzo Guess. And Monty was from down in that area, and after recruiting him as a player and then hiring him as a coach, and then watch him go to Northern Illinois, and now getting him back, I reshuffled even my own group here. Mike Garland, who's been with me forever, will remain with me, but he'll be changed his title a little bit to special assistant to me. Mike and I have been together since my first night on Northern Michigan's campus, and all but 4-year stint when he was at Cleveland State. Mike has been my guy. As we all know, his son went through a very, very difficult period of time, getting an incredible heart transplant last year, and Mike had to be gone some, and he's, still, even though he's doing really well, we just thought it would be best to get him off the road and put him in a position where, everything's about X's and O's, but as most coaches would tell you, it's more about the Jimmies and Joes. And I feel that I got to do a better job even with the players I got and the players I've had. And so we're going to use Mike in a lot of different areas, but one will be the day-to-day work with me in the film room and figuring out what we want to do. But 2 will be development of our student athletes, and what I mean by that development is kind of on a day-to-day. I mean, Mike's always done this for me, but he's had a million different other things to do. So instead of making him the recruiting coordinator like I did Doug and I did Monty at first, he'll do some of that. He'll coordinate some of that, but he's going to be involved in a lot of day-to-day stuff with me. And when I think it's time to go see Miles Bridges because maybe he's struggling, I'm going to be able to fly Mike there. And when it's time to deal with some of the guys that maybe aren't playing as well, his responsibility will be to the player. And I think I'm kind of excited about it. Him and I have talked about it. I think it's going to be great for me, for our program, for our former players, for our current players. And, most of all, when I think back to the number of years Mike and I have been together, when I say special assistant, he's a special guy for me. And so I think this way it'll give him a little bit of flexibility with his son going through what he's going through. It'll give me a little bit of the ability to relax a little bit, that I know Mike is kind of dealing with all the issues and problems that these kids, we know mental illness has been upgraded a lot in college sports, and maybe having someone that keeps an eye on things with our players on the front end, we won't have to deal with the crisis management on the back end. So that's kind of where I am with my staff. I think, Monty and DJ's been, of course, still my associate head coach. And Monty will look at some of the offensive things. Doug has done a great job with the recruiting stuff. We'll continue in some of that. But he, too, will work with DJ and with Monty. And I think we're a very well-oiled machine right now. Maybe getting Monty back, it was some from the past. We went through some great years. Him and DJ are good friends. Him and Doug are good friends. Him and Mike are good friends. So it's been a very smooth transition. And yet the guys that left, they all left for good situations. Dan went back to his alma mater. Drew Donesco getting a full-time job, coming from a video coordinator was a really, really good move. And David Thomas, getting into what I call the real world, not the Disney world, has got what I think he thinks would be best for he and his family, and I'm excited about that for DT. So it's been all good as far as that goes. It's exciting to be back, and the thought of having fans back. I mean, going to a football game right now is really special for me because we're winning, we're playing well. I'm happy for Mel. We have a Heisman Trophy candidate, and I think rightfully so. I think Walker has done an unbelievable job. I hope our Walker is as good as their Walker. But it's been a fun team to watch, but it's been fun just being in the stands with all the other students, and that's kind of what I like most. There's no up in the box for Izzo. It's down in the stands with the students, and I've enjoyed that. Our players have enjoyed that. We had a camp out the other night that was second to none. I mean, someday if some of you, Larry Lage, that have been here forever, Sean, Jack, trying to think, Fred, we can get you in a tent, so that'll be good. Someday you got to have the courage, some of you guys, to sleep out one night. Rained a little bit. It was perfect. I've had a lot of perfect things happen to me this year to prove that I'm still in my prime. A couple of them are taking a couple of red eyes back from California, sitting in the middle seat in the back row. It was awesome. And camping out with the guys the other night and the gals, to me, is one of the more fun things I get to do. Sounds crazy to you. I think we had 1,213 tents. We started with about 100 and some my first year. The place was packed. We had, it rained a little bit. 4,000 students, largest number of students ever, largest number of tents ever. I think people are excited to be out and be back, and I'm looking forward to that. So the week has started out very well for me. Football team getting a win, camp out. Players have practiced very well. It's been an exciting start, and I'll just keep hoping that it's football season, and we all know that we can talk about, I guess, the game coming up because we don't have a game this weekend. So Kenneth Walker, Mel Tucker, I hope they're over there getting ready for their big game in a week and a half. It'll be a big recruiting week for us. We've had a great couple of weeks of practice, and I thought one bad practice last Saturday or Friday, we let the Izzo camp out people come in, and I don't think our players handled that very well, and I thought we were awful. And other than that, I think we've been at a very, very high level. Our captains are two different guys. In Malik, you got the quiet assassin who, very intelligent kid who kind of helps me with the players on the court and off. And Gabe is my energized bunny that I just kind of wind him up and tell him to go. And he brings a lot of the enthusiasm. So I got a combination of both. Neither one of them have big egos. If there's one thing I've really enjoyed about this team, it's egoless. And, You ask who the star player is, I'm not sure I could answer you. It's not been that way many years. We've had a few years when it's been that way. If I talk to you about the unselfishness, the fact that I think we're one of the better shooting teams I've had, maybe better passing teams I've had, led by Joey and Malik as bigger guys that can pass. It's been fun to watch them. I've had, we've got a combination of some veterans coming back, and I think a lot of guys have changed. I mean, it's hard to judge last year, since we were one of 3 teams that had COVID during the year. It's hard to judge how it affected different teams that didn't have a summer. I did think we got hurt a lot with AJ and Rocket not having a summer to kind of learn how to play a position that's very difficult to play. I think we did shuffleboard at the center position also. And so as I look back, I have questioned, did I do a good enough job? Was it part of the circumstances? And I decided that I don't care anymore. I can't really comprehend it all. I'm just going to look at who am I, who was I, what we got to get back to. And that's kind of where I'm going. Not being ranked in the top 25 since the first time since 2012 does tick me off, but I understand it. And yet in 2012, I was talking to John Calipari yesterday, and I think that year, or he said there was a year then that they have to play Duke, and it's, of course, Mike's farewell tour. I had to play Duke that year, I think, in New York, and it was when he broke the record. So I was a sacrificial lamb back then, and he said, I remember getting ready for the second game. There was a long time in between, and Draymond Green went off in your locker room. So I never heard you say a word, and I heard him say, we lost what ended up a close game, and we went on to win a bundle of games, and I think we ended up ranked 5th or 6th in the country that year. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I understand that, where we are, where we deserve to be, and where we can be. We made a little run at the end of last year, and I think that run was important. Not only did it secure us a spot in the NCAA tournament, but we played some of our best basketball at the end. In tough situations, beating 3 top 5 teams. And then playing good enough to beat UCLA, and we didn't get it done. And the reasons we didn't get it done are on film, and they're evident. And so that'll be something this week. I decided on a recruiting trip yesterday that I'm going to have my team watch that game just to show them how many little things make a difference. So all in all, I think the Big Ten is about as good as it's been other than last year. I thought last year and the year before, those are 2 of the best years that there have been in this league as far as the number of great teams. But this year, there's 5 or 6 teams ranked in the top 25, 3 or 4 in the top 10, all deservingly so. And it's been the premier conference, top to bottom, for now some time. I think, again, the bottom is making some noise. Nebraska, Matt Larson will be happy to know, back in his home stomping grounds. They've got a couple big-time recruits, and Fred has done a great job there. They've been a bottom of the rung team. I don't think you'll see that this year. Northwestern has been in that position, has a lot of players back, and Minnesota has a new coach. I think Ben will do a phenomenal job there. I've known him for a long time, and as he starts to do kind of what I did, gather the local talent and see what he can do. So I think the league in general, top to bottom, is going to be the best in the country. I'll review our players really quickly, and then I'll open up for some questions. And I'm going to go quickly through our players because it's not like it's the first press conference. It's not the first time you've seen us. Some of you have seen a practice. But in Gabe, he's one of our captains. He's always been one of the hardest workers, but I think he's doing it now with a focus and a purpose and some leadership to maybe try to look at a guy like Morris Peterson my first couple years, and it took him a couple years to get going, but then his last year and two were phenomenal. And I think Gabe's onto that. He's one of the best shooters on this team. He's improved his shooting, he's improved his arch, he's improved his ball handling a lot. What he has to improve is his defense, and he's made strides in it, and his rebounding, which I think will be two critical things to take him from good to great. In Marcus Bingham, another junior, senior. I don't know what guys are. I just got a bunch of players because, you know, you can have fourth-year seniors, you can have fifth-year seniors. Somebody in our league has a sixth-year senior. I guess I'm a 60-some senior. I don't know what the hell everybody is anymore, nor do I care. But Marcus Bingham, you know, we continuously want him to gain weight. And most of us are looking at things the other way. We're continuously trying to lose weight. And, you know, we think it's easy, and it's not always easy. Marcus did gain some weight. But for the first time, I thought this summer was maybe because of last year's, you know, no work in the weight room, or when we did work, we worked with two players. We made a concerted effort that we were lifting every day at 7:15. Normally where the coaching staff isn't there, the strength coach is there, because the coaching staff, you know, sometimes they get sick of you, you get sick of them. Every coach was there every day, from me to Matt McQuaid. And the energy in that weight room, and believe it or not, Marcus Bingham led it. He went up incredibly in his strength and his lifting. He's always been a solid defender. It's been his conditioning and his strength that have hurt him. His weight, he's not 280, but his strength is improved enormously. I think he understands now that he can still take a three, but it's not going to be ones off the dribble, behind the back, through the legs. He's shooting the ball very well when he spots up. I'd like to see him shoot that jump hook more. It's lethal. It's very good. And he is in better shape. But I think maybe the best thing, his focus this summer and this spring and this fall have been phenomenal. So that's high praise for a guy that I usually spend a lot of time getting on, which I still will. But I do believe that the light has gone on, and he understands what he has to do and what he can do. And Joey Hauser, you know, let's face it, it was a disappointing year for Joey last year. And talking to some NBA friends of mine, I think everybody handles COVID differently. Whether you're in the league, you know, we had football players of all people, you know, big, tough football, but I think there were 8 of them from the Patriots that opted not to play. Everybody handled that craziness differently. I don't think it was good for Joey. And I don't think it was good that we didn't have maybe the kind of quarterback that got people the ball. Right now, Gabe has been a better shooter. Joey's a better shooter. Malik's a better shooter, because I think the ball comes to him at a time when they can shoot shots within a rhythm. So I think Joey is going to benefit. He might be the smartest player on my team, and he might be one of the best passers on my team. He definitely is one of the best shooters. And we can all sit here and say, well, he didn't do that last year, and I'd say he didn't, and he'd probably say he didn't. But Joey's one of those quiet guys that doesn't like a lot of attention, and yet is one of our best rebounders. Even though he doesn't jump the highest, he's one of our best cutout guys. We're giving him the green light to handle the ball a little bit more this year, because what he loves to be, and it's taken me a while to understand that, he has great playmaking abilities, and he loves to pass almost more than he does to shoot, even though he's one of our best shooters. So I think you're going to see a much improved Joey. And part of it is just the whole situation that he went through. Part of it is I think we have better ball movement. better opportunities, that guys are going to get shots when they're open, not get shots out of last resort, which I think we did a little bit of last year. And again, more my fault than their fault. The last junior, senior, whatever, is Jason Whitton, who's from Western Michigan, and Michael Peterson. Those two guys transferred here. Michael Peterson is a great student that is getting into something here that he wanted to be in, transferred from Ferris. Hopefully he'll give us a scouting report next week. But I've really enjoyed both guys. Whitens is a kid who started some at Western Michigan. Dream was always to play here. Decided his last year that's what he wanted to do. And I will say, like a better Timbo Grakis, he has energy, he has toughness, he's 6'5", he never lost a football or basketball game most of his life. And I've been pleasantly surprised by what he gives us. He'll be the greatest scout team player we've had, but I got a feeling he's going to get on the court some because great offensive rebounder, very, very good athlete. As I said, he transferred from Western. Michael transferred from Ferris. Jason is a physical player. Michael is a little better shooter. Michael's 6'6", 6'7". Jason's 6'4", 6'5". So I've appreciated having both those guys. They're bringing something to the table, and every one of those guys. Gabe's already graduated. Joey's already graduated. Marcus is close to graduating. Jason and Michael are working on their masters. I got more people working on their masters than I do on basketball right now, and that means players will be smarter than the coach. Could be good, could be bad. The juniors, Malik Call is our co-captain with Gabe. I think Malik is a guy, too, that is ready for a breakout season. If you remember back the Seton Hall game, shot the ball so well, didn't shoot it as well then. He really worked on that this summer. That is ball handling. I think as a 3 or 4, we think he can play both positions now. He can guard 1 through 5. He's gotten even stronger. He's always had a great basketball body. But he seems to, he's adapted to the game really well. He needs to work on being more vocal. But as he says, he's more the quiet guy. Gabe's more the energized bunny. I guess it's a good frickin' frack. But he sees the game like Joey Hauser. I think I got 2 potential 4-men, and both could play the 3 some. But really sees the court well. So there's going to be times this year where those 2 guys will be taking it off the rim and going with it. And that's one of the adjustments I think I've made that I think is going to be good for us. As I said, his shooting ability, shooting the 3 ball really well right now. And I think those 2 guys, at that 4 spot may be as big of improvement as we have. Julius Marble kind of plays with an edge, If you watch our game against UCLA, which I did at the end, if you watch the Michigan, Illinois, Ohio State game, we used him in a more physical manner, more like a Xavier Tillman. He's worked on his shot. He's worked on his jump hook a lot. He can defend a lot of people like Xavier. He's gotten really strong in the off season, put on some good weight. I think he's really going to help us in the post, even to the point where him and Marcus could be, who starts, who doesn't start. But right now I think it'll be Marcus, but I think Julius is going to be a great guy off the bench. He's an engineering student. His academics is extremely difficult. And I think for the first 2 years to get into the engineering school, academics should always be the most important thing, but I think it was almost so much. And now I think he's learned to balance the 2. He's had a hell of a summer. And I make it sound like everybody's doing great, because for the first time I think we had the best summer I've had here in 10 years, and he's been a big recipient of that. The last junior whatever they are. Is Tyson Walker our only transfer of, a portal transfer? We got Tyson from Northeastern, where he was very well coached. He was Defensive Player of the Year there in that conference, but at the same time, he was able to average, 16, 17, 18 points a game. So he's a multi-dimensional kid. He's got phenomenal athleticism. Not the biggest guy, but can dunk it every way you need to. He's a true point guard. He can pass it, he can shoot it, but he has the athletic ability, and he has phenomenal hands. He gets his hands on more balls than anybody I've had in a long time. And so I think he's going to really help us there. He's been impressive so far. He got here as early as anybody. As soon as school ended there, he came. And he's picked up things. He's crafty. He can create for himself, but he can create for others. And if somebody's open, they're getting the ball at the right time in the right place. He's had a little bit of an adjustment with our break because we want to push it every time, which we are doing 10 times better than last year for a variety of reasons. But he still, maybe he wasn't in a system like that. The system he was in, he was very well coached in college. Bill was a great coach. But, more in the half court, more ball screen, stuff like that, which is going to be good for Joey and Malik, and he can read things and come off them. So Tyson's going to help us. The sophomore class, two guys that you saw but never even learned what it was like to be a freshman in any way, shape, or form. Didn't go to class because there were no classes. I feel for these guys as much as anybody now. I've been in college for a year and a half, and some of them hardly attended a class. But AJ Hogart lost 20-some pounds. That was big. I wish he would have gave it to Marcus, but he didn't. But he got rid of it, and I think that's important. He is running our break as well as anybody since Mateen. He gets the ball from A to B quickly. He's so much of a better athlete than what you saw last year. He's shooting the ball better, but his ability to push it up on the break has been really, really fun to watch. Guys are running the lanes more because I think they get the ball more. He's worked really well with Tyson. They're both from a similar area out east, knew each other a little bit, and they've been a real good combination, going at each other and helping each other. I think both will help us at that spot, and I think there'll be times when we'll play with 2 point guards on the floor at the same time, and that's going to benefit us a lot. And Martez Sissoko, the other sophomore, with Marty, he's gotten a lot stronger, but a lot better with his jump hook. He too was a guy last year. He came off that hand injury where he broke his hand, didn't play most of his senior year, and he hadn't played that many years before. So he's still a work in progress. That if you watch some of the games at the end where we needed some muscle in that, I think Marty's going to be a very helpful combination. What I can't do is what I did last year, try to sub 4 guys at one position, and he will work his way in. I have no doubt about that. He's become more aggressive. He was always a great shot blocker, and he helps us with his strength, his muscle, because as you know, we have a plethargy, to use a bigger word than most Yoopers use, of centers in this league that have size. And we're going to need Marty in a lot of different ways. What's that? What did I say? That's what happens when you use words that you shouldn't. Let me keep it to the normal Izzo language, 4 letters and under. Lots. We have lots of centers in this league. And I will pay you back for that, Fred, but I do appreciate, I'm humble enough to be corrected. So we have a lot of centers in this league, and a lot of them are big, and I'm going to make sure that we got enough people to bang on them. How's that? And then our super freshmen, not super sophomores, our fabulous freshmen. I do think we have 3 guys, and everyone's been as good or better than the billing, and that does not happen. Max Christie was a 5-star recruit, a McDonald's guy. He's disappointed none. I thought he'd be a liability defensively. I thought he would be, need to put on some weight and get stronger. You're going to love the kid. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but he's done everything asked of him and more. He's a bulldog for learning. He's a film watcher. He's a guy that doesn't like it, doesn't love it. He lives the game. Phenomenal student. He's got the whole package and has deep range. And so he can shoot it. He's gotten a lot better at putting it on the floor, a lot stronger and a lot better defensively. And I expect Max to be one of our keys. Runs that lane really well. Gabe on one side, him on the other. I think we can get back to those days of Shannon and Mo and some of the great runners, Charlie and Morris. And yet to have great receivers, as we learned in football, you need guys that can get them the ball, and I think we have that. And Jaden Akins, he's been the surprise guy. Things didn't go quite the way he wanted to early, transferred out to Sunrise, and didn't even start there a lot of times. And probably has been as consistent, as athletic, as hardworking. I think could be a defensive dynamo. But his offense is a lot better than I thought. He's shooting the ball really well. He can create off the dribble. He's a phenomenal athlete, but just a great student and a great kid. And Pierre Brooks, somebody we know a little bit more about, was Mr. Basketball. He was, a guy that has size at 6'5", probably needed to lose a little weight, and realized that defensively he's got to work, but offensively, offensive rebounder, he too has been a pleasant surprise. So by not having a superstar, you got a lot of players in that group, and that group will have to be narrowed down to 8 or 9 guys. But I think we have some guys to pick from, and we have some guys that need a little patience. We have some guys that have to understand there's a process to getting where you want to get. And if you look at our first 6, 7, 8 games, there's not a lot of room for error. In other words, some schools start out playing one good game and 6 or 7 to get ready. We start out with playing 5 or 6 good games, great games, and a couple that maybe wouldn't be considered at that. So we're going to be under fire right away, including starting out with Kansas, ranked number 3 in New York. And so I'm very excited about it. I kind of probably went longer than I should on all of it. We have 2 more guys that we should mention. One of them's my son Steven, who's still on my team, and still on the Izzo scholarship too. And one in Davis Smith, who we bumped up onto a scholarship player. And Davis has improved his strength, his shooting. I told his dad when he was up, he came here probably because he was Steve Smith's son and a chance to walk on. He earned a scholarship because he's Davis Smith, not Steve Smith's son. And that's pretty cool. And I love, what he brings. He's got leadership skills and has done a good job. And so all in all, that's my team. And I'm waiting for some good questions instead of the normal ones I get most years. Fred.
On both sides. We'll be able to take questions for about 20 minutes.
Over here, Tom Duro.
Whatever you say, Max. Whatever you say.
Over here, Tom, to your left, way over to the left, sorry. I'm going to ask you a little, you mentioned it a little bit earlier about Tyson and AJ having a little history going back. AJ mentioned last week that he's known Tyson since they were like 4th grade or whatever. Have you seen that dynamic help them, and are they kind of pushing? Is it like a collaborative effort with both those guys?
I really have, and I was worried about it, because I'll be honest with you, I could probably name 2 starters right now. I could probably name 5 or 6 that could be, and yet it's a good thing, not a bad thing. Last year it was a bad thing. This year it's a good thing. But, those guys have battled each other. As I said, Tyson knows the position. He's played it his whole life. AJ has played it a lot, but is adapting to the new weight and the new feel and realizing he can go. Tyson is one of the better defenders that we've had here in the Mateen and Charlie and guys, Tum, guys like that where he can defend. AJ has long arms, has a strong linebacker body, and yet mentality-wise, got to realize he's 20 pounds lighter and he can do those things on a regular basis, not on a once-in-a-while basis. So I do think the relationship with those two have. I watch them shoot together after practice. It's been fun to watch. It's been a lot of fun to watch, and hopefully that'll continue.
Tom, I wanted to ask you about, you talked a lot about strength improving for a lot of the players. How big of an emphasis was that in terms of overall improvement this offseason, and how do you think it'll make the team better?
Well, I think, what the weight room is to me, and it's named after Draymond for 2 reasons. One, he gave a lot of money, and 2, most important, I guess, to you guys, to him, maybe, to me, sort of, but more important, when you get stronger, you automatically get tougher, and we weren't the toughest team in America last year. We did not rebound like our teams. We did not defend like our teams. So when I said in May we made that weight room a character-building place, that's what I said, and that's what we did. And we did it from the strength coach, the trainer, the players, and every coach on this staff that didn't miss a morning of that. And that's never happened, and I think it was a total plus. I do think it's helped us. I think it helped some individual kids. It's not like everybody's walking around like He-Man. We didn't want that. We did a lot more stretching, a lot more other things. But when you're in better shape, when you're feeling good, there's reasons there's mirrors on most workout places. Because people like looking at themselves when they look good. Some of you guys probably have mirrorless houses. But, for the most part, those guys, they like it. And it was kind of fun to watch, the first couple weeks. You catch them looking in the mirror. Pretty soon you catch them with their shirt off or half shirts. Pretty soon their shirt's off. It's awesome. It's just a confidence thing that makes you feel good. And Kara did a great job of capturing a lot of that for us this year. And those guys too were there every day. We had our video people there. We had we just had everybody. We made it a big deal, and I think it's going to pay big dividends for us. We had to get better defensively. It's one of the worst defensive teams I've had, and we had to get better rebounding the ball, and we've gone back to doing the things that we needed to do, should do, and can do. Hopefully that'll benefit us. But if you're stronger, again, don't take that as you see our guys. It's not like Marcus Bingham was. When he started, I'll tell this story because we've had a bunch of NBA people in, and they have the bench press, 185 pounds, how many times you can do it. Markey broke Kevin Durant's record. Kevin Durant did 0. Markey was a negative. The thing went through his chest the first time. So those were the first 2 years, and I think he's up to 10 or 11 this year, and it's just made a big difference in his confidence, So the weight room was important. It's always been important to me. It was more important than normal this year.
Hey, Tom. Intrigued by your comment. Here you are getting ready to get this new season going with a new team, but then you referenced the priority of being former players like a Miles Bridges. Talk about why that's still important to you, and what does that say about the DNA of Michigan State basketball?
Well, as most of you know, there's only certain things you can publicize and what you can do, but we had a thing called Grind Week where we invited our 8 pros back, our 4 that were over in Europe. We had a few more over in Europe that already started, and So Travis Trice came back, and Matt Costello came back, and it was awesome. I mean, Austin Thornton deserves a lot of credit. He put it all together. Travis Walton did an unbelievable job. They brought some coaches in, and all those guys came back, and we have some unbelievable footage of, we had a round table with them. They got to talk to our players every day. Those guys they wanted to come back. It was Jaron Jackson that said, Coach, anytime we can have this, we'll fund it. Well, after what he signed for yesterday, I told him, I sent him a text. I said, hey, next meal's on you. Then I said, no, just kidding. I'll take you out for lunch still at Burger King, and you take me out at Ruth Crisp. So let's get this straightened out here real quick. So the part that I loved is they had fun. They enjoyed it. They went 3-a-days sometimes. And they made it a grind week. They made it a prep for themselves. Draymond was awesome. Gary, Denzel, every one of them. Xavier, it was fun. And I think sometimes as those guys go, Denzel's been through a tough thing with injuries. And sometimes I can get to him by phone, but sometimes you got to be there in person, especially what I learned last year. Not being there in person, whether it's with you guys or with them, you don't get the same message. Sometimes you got to look into a guy's eyes and see how he really feels. Zoom doesn't do it for me. And so I decided that I'm going to do even a better job. And then with our own players, too. We're into this transfer BS, and that's what I call it. Where, you better do a better job on the front end, because once a guy's half in, half out, you're not. And so Mike and I talked about it, and we're going to do even a better job, and we're going to get our former guys even more involved. I see some of the great, there's been some really interesting things that have happened. I'll just say I talked to Doc Rivers yesterday. Interesting things that have happened. I look at some guys that were second, third, fourth round picks. 2 years later, they're out, or they're not playing for that team, or they're not going to be involved. I want to make sure I do a better job. My job is to help my guys graduate, hopefully win championships, and get to where basketball, if that's what they want to do, is part of their future. But it shouldn't stop there. My job with my own son is make sure till the day I die, he's, pushing and doing the things that he needs to do. I want to do that with my own players, too. You're damn right, I want it different than everywhere in the country. That's what I want. That's what I'm going to work for. And I'm going to put some of my resources to work on that. And that week for me, as anybody would tell you that was around me that week, I said other than winning a national championship was probably the best week I had. Big Ten championships, that week killed it. Winning games, that week killed it. Beating Michigan in a week and a half, coin flip, okay? But for the most part, that is important to me, and you know what I found out was important to them, and that's pretty cool.
I know you mentioned Davis getting the scholarship. You had two open coming into this year. I wondered, because you talk about not knowing other guys, a junior or a senior, how much do you have to have advanced conversations with guys if they want to come back for that extra COVID year? And do you kind of have a little bit of roster management with those scholarships to look at that moving forward?
Roster management's a joke, okay? But it's not a joke here because whether anybody believes this or not, I'm not getting rid of anybody that wants to be here. If I brought him here, and let's say it was a mistake. We make mistakes too. That's my mistake. And so anybody that wants to be here has got the right to be here and will be here under Tom Izzo. Now, if guys leave, if I talk to them about you want to play more, this is what you could do and should do, and this and that, but there will never be a guy run out of here unless he's not doing what he needs to do, because that's my obligation to him. And I'm afraid that's going to be the norm. That's why I'm against some of these things. I'm afraid it's going to be the wild, wild west on steroids. And that's going to be tough. So I have my reasons for how I feel, but I also have an obligation to the players I recruit. And unless they're not doing their job, and not doing their job doesn't mean they're not good enough to play, unfortunately. It means they're not working at it, they're walking around a practice and not talking to anybody, which we sometimes see in the NBA or something. That's a different story. But if they want to be here, they're going to be here. But roster management is a problem. That's why maybe you will see more programs not use all their scholarships. And everybody thinks that's great, but that means there's less kids in high schools getting scholarships. I don't see what's so good about that. Those are educational opportunities that now some kids won't get. If each school held on to 2 scholarships and there's 350 schools, that's 700 people. If I got to, Fred, did I multiply that right? I got to make sure I don't. Okay, so that's 700 people that are going to be without a scholarship. Those are part of my unintended consequence, which I'm not talking about today. But I am talking about roster management is a problem. But I can promise the kid that comes here, it'll be his decision, not mine, unless he doesn't do his job.
I meant more like a guy like Markey and Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
If they wanted to, they could come back for an extra year. Because of that. I mean, that's
And that's why I've adjusted accordingly. So if I give a scholarship, sometimes that are here, it might be a 1-year scholarship at the time. If I recruit a kid, we know it's for 4 years, but it could be where I give a kid something for a year, and then because Markey comes back, things like that. Yeah, we have to plan for that. We have to deal with that.
Tom, you mentioned this is a team that maybe doesn't have a star like previous teams of yours had. Does that dynamic work for a whole part of the season, or are you looking for guys to kind of step up and say, I'm going to be that guy for this team?
I'm looking for guys to step up, but I think it has in the past. It's worked that way. Guys have developed in. I mean, it's a very, very unselfish group right now, and that means that I think a lot of different people could score points to hurt you. I mean, I could see where we get something to point. I could see where our wings, at times, especially with Max and Gabe, we're going to be able to do some things there. I think, like a lot of teams I've had, I think we're going to have the versatility to put Malik at the 3-some and go bigger. We could put Joey at the 5-some and go smaller. I like the versatility. I don't like that. You could say, do we have a go-to guy? We'll develop one. One will come out, and I'm not worried about that. That's one of the things I'm not worried about.
Years ago, you used to openly joke about, I'm not going to be a coach when I'm 70. You used to say that. Now you're 66, and you seem to have this energy. Is that about COVID last year and it's kind of over? Or is that about your workouts every day? Is that about this team? What's it about that keeps the energy at 66?
I do have more energy today, if you want the truth. We went through a lot here, and last 3-4 years, a lot of different reasons, and you get to the point where it either takes you down or you say another 4-letter word that I won't say here. And I've taken the later. I think Mark D'Antonio. I mean, everybody went through a lot. I see some things happening here. I do get energized by football all the time. I love what's going on there. I get energized. I think Draymond was right. Getting a little youth on my staff. Now I have a balance. It's like your team. You have to have some seniors and you have to have some freshmen. I got a couple seniors and I got a couple very, very good freshmen. And then it's my goals. Still have a goal. Try to win another one. I mean, it's not insurmountable goal, and I have a goal to make sure Michigan State University is thought of and talked about and respected like it should be. And we've gone through some things that I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And might take a little time, and if it does, I'm in for the fight. I really am.
Tom, over here. You've got a couple football guys that are planning to be on your roster at some point too. I'm wondering how you plan to mix them in, and obviously has anything changed with them as they've sort of realized what it takes in football to make an impact as freshmen or anything?
I think it's even more important if they decide to, and Mel and I have talked about it, but they can look at it two ways too. I mean, maybe they're not playing quite as much as they thought. So Shazam, there's a process, like what's the big deal, but everybody takes those differently. Some kids will say, hey, you know what, I got to spend all my time here because I got to make sure I get where I want to get, where my scholarship is. There's been a pretty open door policy with Mel and I, and we'll cross that when it gets there. That won't be part of the news today, but it's competitive. And guys that are walk-ons now, if those guys come over and they're better, that's competitive. I mean, the scholarship guys, we'll have to wait and see. But I wouldn't want you asking them personally, because I'd want every bit of focus on what's been a magical season for our football team. And, sometimes when you have magical things happen, everybody's trying to figure out how can we upset the apple cart. So I'm telling those guys, you want to come by here on your off day and watch a practice, great. But you put all your energy, because as we learned throughout the last few years, as Susie's learning right now, everybody's one injury away from getting an opportunity. And but I do think if those guys do come over, and they went through a year when maybe they thought they were going to play more, and because everybody thinks they're going to play more, maybe they'll help some of our freshmen or other guys that realize that P word has got to come back in. Accountability's got to come back in, respect's got to come back in, process has to come back in. It has to. There's a process to everything. You all went through it. Everybody here went through a process. None of you were given anything. But you write about people that are supposed to just go from here to here. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So if those guys, they might help us as players. They might help us in the locker room. But most important right now, I want them to help Mel Tucker win one more game. And then I'll probably say, and then one more game. But the next one more game, I'm sticking with the one more game right now. Wow.
One quick. Can I give
Wow.
one quick follow here? Sorry.
Yeah.
I had one. I just wanted to ask you about
It's not illegal.
It's about. You have two positions that seem like either or spots, right? You have point guard or in power forward, where you got two guys who are really competing.
Right now in my mind, because you're always going to ask me, so I'm going to tell you that I think Gabe has done enough so far to solidify his spot. I think Max has done enough to solidify that spot, although Jaden is playing awfully well right now. I think Marcus and Julius have been in a dogfight in different ways, different situations. I think our 2 point guards are, and I think our 4 men, to me, those two guys, it's going to be decided on a couple of things. It won't be just who's the better player, because I think they both bring some things. It'll be maybe who comes off the bench better. It might be who can play a majority of different positions. If Malik can be coming in as a 3 or a 4 or this or that. So there'll be some different decisions then. But I can tell you that I have a 7-8 man playing group right now, and it probably is going to go to 9, and I don't think, then it'll be emergency stuff beyond that.
Thank you for answering my question without me asking.
Oh, Larry.
Yes, hello.
Your question is, are we going to press?
No, I was going to ask
You
who the
already
two guys
answered my
were, who the
answer.
two starters were. And you answered it. Thank you. I can move on.
You can appreciate that you and I are on the same page for the first time in 30-some years, so that's awesome.
30, actually.
30.
What do you know about this team that you couldn't maybe a month ago or a few weeks ago? And what is your biggest concern?
I think we got a chance to be a really good running team. I think we got a chance to be a very good shooting team, which we weren't last year. My unknowns, are we going to be good enough defensively, which I should be able to control? I mean, I bet if you asked Mel, I bet he thought he'd be better defensively than offensively at the beginning of the year, and it turns out there might be a little better offensively right now. So, and yet he's the defensive guru, and I think I've hung my hat on the defensive side of the ball a little bit more, and so I better get to work. And do we rebound the ball well enough? You can't run if you don't defend and you don't rebound. You can't run. Taking it out of the basket isn't as good as not, and getting clean rebounds and going with it is really important. So I think those things are good. I think our what I didn't know about this team would be how would they practice every day. I look back on last year and we just had some lapses. But I don't blame the players and I don't even blame the coaches. It was such a strange year to come to work every day, guys, that I don't want to try to evaluate it according to that. And I want to evaluate it. We've done a lot of stuff. We've gone back to 18-19 or 19-20 compared to 2021, because I think you can get a better evaluation. So, I'm excited about them right now. We got a brutal schedule. We could get our brains beat in early. I don't know. I think that's the other thing. Did you ever look at the top 10 football teams in the preseason with all the experts picked? That thing's been dissolved, hasn't it? There's more changes in that. And I think you can attribute some of that to the fact what you said about roster management and who's changing, who gets along. Chemistry, as I heard on TV this morning with a couple of the NBA teams, is very important. And you can have chemistry to start the year, then when you win some games, your chemistry could change. And definitely when you lose some games, your chemistry is going to change, especially if you have a lot of new moving parts and pieces. So thank God we don't have a lot of new moving parts and pieces, and we have guys that have paid their dues. And then we sprinkle in some other guys. I think we have a good combination right now. Another question, the hell with Max.
I have one back here. Hi.
Hi.
You mentioned over the summer that you were trying to get back to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do to do that, to find you again? And where did you lose you?
I looked under a rock. How's that? No, I think what I meant by that is you go through so many things in this job right now, about you're worried about injuries. Let's not play the war game. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's, you know in your heart that the only way to discipline somebody is playing time. But in your head, you used to think you could yell at them. Now you get sued for that, so you can't do that. Then you used to think you could plead with them. That doesn't work. They're too smart for that. So I just get back to, you want to miss a class, fine, you miss a practice. You want to do this, you're going to do this. There is going to be some consequences in a world that there are none. And you know what? I've loved it. I sleep better. I feel better. They've been better. My old buddy Buck Nystrom, who recently passed away, said it best to me when I played a little football up there. Izzo, discipline's the greatest form of love you can show somebody. And sometimes I think I got away from that, and you think you want to please them by hugging and kissing them. And you please them by holding them accountable and doing them a favor. And, did COVID cause some of that? Was I spoiled? Because I had Xavier and Cassius and, it was a little easier, maybe. you know. But I think the best part is, you know, changing your staff a little bit. What I do, bringing some young guys in, they remind me, or it's fun when I brought Doug back, or when I brought Monty back now, and they'll say, you know, well, we didn't used to do it this way. No, we've changed a little bit, you know, a little bit. And I start saying, was that a good change or a bad change? And so they've kind of refreshened me up a little bit too, you know, and so Fred's right. I mean, I feel better than I've felt in a long time. Peloton was good to me, but also just kind of, you know, figuring out that there's a lot of ways to win, meaning different sizes, different offenses, different defenses, different presses. There's different ways to win, but the bottom line is there has to be some accountability, and there has to be some discipline in what you do, whatever way you choose. And I think that the world's gotten a little crazy, and we got away from that. And I hope to say that's not going to get away from us here in this program this year, because getting those guys back and hearing all those crazy stories, you know, players are awesome. You know, they all want to go away and go in the locker room and go to the bar and go to the friend's house and tell stories about the coach, right? I mean, that's pretty normal, right? But I love it. Your wife calling? Anyway, what they don't realize is coaches do the same thing, you know? And for some reason, this time it was a time to talk to them like we were all on the same level. You know, those guys are old enough now, they're not just players, but they're not coaches. But we talked about what they appreciated. Derek Nix came back and worked out. It was educational for me. That's where I got my plan on Mike. You know, it really was. I mean, I realized what they tell you is true, and that is nobody likes you while you're here. You just hope they respect you, but nobody likes you. Who the hell? I didn't like my mother telling me I got to go to class, I got to eat spinach. You know what? If I had any courage and I wasn't afraid of my dad, I would have told her, you know, take a hike. But I didn't do that. But later on, I realized why. Listening to those guys come back, Mike said to me 10 times, man, this is awesome. I mean, we were in heaven, because sometimes it helped them be successful, and sometimes things they didn't do helped them not be successful. And that's where I said we got to do even a better job when we're here. And so, in a nutshell, in this long press conference, that makes Max nervous because he's worried about the players. He's worried about the Red Sox. He's worried about the players. You know what I'm worried about? I'm worried about doing the right things. I'm doing about, you know, and it's awesome because whether you're a writer, whether you're a TV personality, whether you're a coach, whether you're a parent, the right things are all the same. You know, there's not a lot of shortcuts. There is a process. You got to stay away from distractions and dirtbags, the double Ds, as I call them. And that's what we're going to try to do. And stay close, but yet learn how to speak to the media. You know, we got jobs to do. You know, they better do a good job today. Ask them any question you want. I hope my guys can handle it. And if they screw it up, then we're going to coach them not to screw it up. And we're going to have some fun, and we're going to play our tail off. And it's all positive. You know why? Because we're 0-0. And that'll probably change when we're 0-1 or 1-2 or 2-1. But I think I have a better perspective on things because I've had some time. Maybe I benefited from COVID a little bit. But I am sick of it. You know, I'll tick off some more writers. Wear your masks when you need to. Get vaccinated if you believe in it. Say that politically correct because I don't want to offend anybody. but let's get back to normalcy. Let's pack that arena. Let's pack that stadium. Let's pack that ice arena. Man, all the Izzone from the camp out went there. They were standing room only. We win the game in the last 5 minutes. I got chills thinking about it. That's what excites me about Michigan State, about being here, and why I'm ready to go, Fred. So no more trying to use more than those 4-letter words, because I screw them up every time. My apology to you. But so I'll get back to normal on that too.